For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On the morning of October 12, 2013, three teenage friends, Brielle Hammond, 16, Kayla Ortiz, 15, and Mina Cho, 15, left their families' homes in the White Mountains area to enjoy a leaf-peeping hike. They never arrived. Despite an extensive investigation across the vast wilderness of the Kankomagus backroads, Brielle, Kayla, and Mina vanished without a trace, their last known location near a remote, decommissioned trailhead. For one agonizing year, their families lived with desperate uncertainty, clinging to any glimmer of hope. Then, on October 12, 2014, a discovery was made that shocked their community. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Brielle, Kayla, and Mina. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. The crisp air of early October settled over the White Mountains of New Hampshire, painting the vast landscape in a vibrant tapestry of crimson, gold, and amber. Each autumn, thousands flocked to witness this spectacle, a tradition known as leaf peeping, drawn by the fleeting beauty of the season. Among them, three teenage girls embarked on what they anticipated would be an idyllic weekend adventure. Brielle Hammond, at 16, was the eldest, accompanied by her 15-year-old classmates, Kayla Ortiz and Mina Cho. Their plan was simple: a day hike along one of the region's less traveled paths near the Kankomagus backroads, followed by a night under the stars, a brief escape from the demands of school and urban life. They had meticulously packed their backpacks with essentials, their excitement palpable in their pre-hike text exchanges, filled with anticipation for the natural splendor awaiting them. Their journey began with a rideshare service, intended to drop them at a specific, well-marked trailhead. However, a critical miscommunication or an unfamiliar driver led to an unforeseen deviation. Instead of their planned starting point, the girls were left at a remote, decommissioned pullout, several miles from their intended destination and deeper into the less traveled backroads. The initial confusion quickly gave way to a decision to improvise. Undeterred, and perhaps underestimating the vastness and wildness of the wilderness, they decided to navigate to their original trail or find an alternative route. This seemingly innocuous decision marked the beginning of their unexpected detour into the unforgiving terrain, away from any established path or easy rescue. Throughout the late afternoon, sporadic text messages and photos of the vibrant foliage reached their families, signaling their progress and the beauty they encountered. The last message, a brief update from Brielle, arrived just as the sun began its swift descent, casting long, purple shadows across the towering mountain peaks. It mentioned the fading light and their continued search for a suitable campsite. Then an abrupt silence. As dusk deepened into night, the expected calls and texts from the girls failed to materialize. Initial concern slowly morphed into annoying anxiety, intensified by the knowledge of the girls' unfamiliar surroundings and the rapidly dropping temperatures. By midnight, with no further contact and their phones unresponsive, the families initiated a desperate search, culminating in an official missing persons report filed with local authorities. Three teenage girls had vanished into the darkening, silent expanse of the White Mountains, leaving behind only the echo of their last, fleeting communications and a profound sense of dread. The report of the missing girls triggered an immediate and robust response. Before dawn, the New Hampshire State Police, led in part by experienced trooper Dan Lavoie, had mobilized an extensive search and rescue operation. Local sheriff's deputies, volunteer search teams, and K-9 units converged on the Kankomagus backroads. The focus of the initial efforts centered around the decommissioned trailhead, where the rideshare driver claimed to have dropped the girls, and then fanned out into the surrounding wilderness. Helicopters equipped with thermal imaging joined the ground crews, their powerful spotlights piercing the pre-dawn darkness, sweeping over the dense canopy of the White Mountains. The terrain proved to be a formidable adversary. Steep inclines, thick underbrush, and rocky outcrops made progress slow and painstaking. Searchers meticulous. Lai combed every inch of the suspected area, calling out the girls' names, listening for any response. Days turned into a week, yet the vast expanse yielded no tangible clues. There were no discarded backpacks, no footprints clearly belonging to the girls, no signs of a struggle, nor any personal belongings that might indicate their path or fate. The absence of evidence was as perplexing as it was disheartening, leaving investigators with an unnerving void. As the physical search continued, law enforcement broadened their appeal to the public. Missing persons alerts, complete with photographs of Brielle Hammond, Kayla Ortiz, and Mina Cho, were disseminated across New England. News outlets broadcast their faces, and flyers were posted in every town surrounding the White Mountains, urging anyone with information, no matter how insignificant, to come forward. The community held its breath, hoping for a breakthrough. Early theories emerged, each more unsettling than the last, but none could be substantiated. Had the girls simply become disoriented and succumbed to the elements? Had they suffered an accidental fall in the rugged terrain? Or, a more sinister possibility began to whisper through the hushed conversations. Had something or someone else intervened? Without a single piece of concrete evidence, these questions hung heavy in the crisp autumn air, providing no comfort, only deepening the mystery surrounding the vanished teenagers. The White Mountains, once a symbol of natural beauty, now held a terrifying secret. The initial frenzy of the search, with its helicopters and hundreds of boots on the ground, eventually subsided. Weeks bled into months, and the vibrant autumn leaves of the White Mountains gave way to the stark, snow-dusted branches of winter. Despite the unprecedented scale of the operation, no new clues surfaced. The vast wilderness had seemingly swallowed Brielle Hammond, Kayla Ortiz, and Mina Cho without a trace. The meticulous combing of the Kankamagus backroads and the surrounding forest yielded nothing, leaving investigators with an unnerving void where evidence should have been. Trooper Dan Lavoie, who had spearheaded the ground efforts, felt the weight of each passing week. The initial surge of adrenaline and hope had been replaced by a gnawing frustration. Every potential lead, however faint, had been pursued to a dead end. The case, once a high-priority, active investigation, slowly began to go cold, settling into the grim stasis of unsolved mysteries. For the families, this passage of time was an agonizing form of torture. The relentless cycle of hope and despair eroded their spirits, leaving them to grapple with an unimaginable uncertainty that offered no closure. The disappearance cast a long, dark shadow over the White Mountains community. What was once a picturesque haven for outdoor enthusiasts now held a chilling undercurrent of fear. Parents watched their children with heightened vigilance, and the easy trust that once characterized the small towns began to fray. A sense of helplessness permeated the air, as if the very mountains themselves had become complicit in the silence. It was against this backdrop of fading hope that Ruth Spindler emerged. A retired librarian with no prior experience in activism, Spindler felt a profound connection to the vanished girls. She refused to let their memory fade into the cold case files. Spindler became an tireless advocate, organizing silent vigils in town squares, meticulously updating community bulletin boards with the girls' photos, and tirelessly contacting media outlets to ensure their story remained in the public consciousness. She pressured local authorities to maintain their focus, providing a much-needed voice for the anguished families. Her efforts ensured that Brielle, Kayla, and Mina remained more than just missing persons files. They were faces, stories, and a constant, haunting question that demanded an answer. But despite her unwavering dedication, the central enigma persisted. The White Mountains held its secrets close, offering no answers to what had truly transpired that fateful autumn day. A full year had passed since Brielle, Kayla, and Mina vanished into the White Mountains. The vibrant hues of autumn had cycled through winter's stark white, spring's tentative green, and summer's lush canopy, only to return once more to the golds and reds of October. The anniversary of their disappearance was a painful marker for the Fahmy. Lies and the community, a day of somber reflection and renewed, quiet desperation. It was against this backdrop, amidst the lingering chill of an approaching New England autumn, that an unexpected and profoundly significant discovery was made. A lone hiker, traversing a less frequented path not far from the original Kancamagus search area, a path that wound past a weathered wooden trail register, paused to sign the log. As they opened the small, often damp box, their fingers brushed against something concealed beneath the worn pages. It was a prepaid mobile phone, carefully wrapped in a plastic bag, tucked deep within the register's cavity. The device was old, its screen cracked, but its presence there after so long was instantly chilling. The hiker, aware of the lingering mystery of the missing girls, immediately reported the find. Law enforcement, including Trooper Dan Lavoie, descended upon the scene with a renewed sense of urgency. The phone was carefully collected and rushed to forensic specialists. Their initial analysis confirmed its profound significance. The device, though deactivated, contained a trove of unsent voice memos. These were not random recordings. They were fragmented, sometimes garbled but undeniably human voices, speaking in hushed tones. This discovery was the first tangible link to the missing teenagers since their final text messages a year prior. It shattered the agonizing silence that had enveloped the case, injecting a potent mix of hope and renewed horror. The mere existence of the phone, hidden deliberately, suggested that at least one of the girls had been alive and resourceful enough to conceal it, attempting to communicate their plight. The implication was stark. They had not simply become lost or succumbed to an accident. They had been taken. The voice memos became the new focal point of the entire investigation. What secrets did they hold? Who had recorded them? Were they the voices of Brielle, Kayla, or Mina, or perhaps even their captor? What new information could these digital whispers reveal about their captivity, their location, or the identity of the individual who had orchestrated their terrifying ordeal? The answers, hopefully, lay locked within the fragile data of that hidden, prepaid phone. The discovery of the prepaid phone reignited the cold case with an intensity that had been absent for months, transforming a somber anniversary into a pivotal turning point. Law enforcement, led by Trooper Dan Lavoie, immediately shifted their focus from a desperate search for bodies to a meticulous analysis of the digital evidence. Every byte of data, every faint sound encoded within the unsent voice memos, was painstakingly extracted and scrutinized by forensic specialists. They sought not just the girls' voices, but also any ambient noise, background conversations, or unique acoustic signatures that could offer a geographical marker or a clue about their environment. The fragmented recordings, sometimes hushed whispers, sometimes moments of chokeback tears, became the primary lens through which investigators began to piece together the girls' year-long ordeal. The investigation pivoted sharply from a search and rescue operation to a complex kidnapping inquiry. Based on the subtle hints within the voice memos, a distant train whistle, the sound of lapping water, the distinct echo of a confined wooden space, the police began to explore the possibility of a captor who employed a strategy of constant movement and concealment. The theory emerged that the girls were not held in a single location, but were likely shuttled between various temporary hideouts, possibly seasonal cabins or isolated properties, to prevent detection. This practice, coupled with the potential use of burner phones by the captor to communicate without leaving a traceable digital footprint, explained the year-long silence and the absence of any prior leads. This new line of inquiry led investigators to re-examine local businesses that catered to transient populations or offered seasonal accommodations. One such individual was Wes Kimball, a night clerk at a motel on the outskirts of Franconia, a town dotted with numerous rental cabins. Kimball, known for his keen observation of the ebb and flow of visitors, was questioned about any unusual long-term cabin rentals, suspicious individuals who frequently paid in cash, or guests who seemed to maintain an unusually low profile over the past year. While he offered no immediate breakthrough, his detailed recall of patrons provided a new pool of potential persons of interest. The phone, once a silent witness hidden in the wilderness, had become a conduit, guiding law enforcement through the labyrinth of the girls' terrifying ordeal, piece by agonizing piece, demanding a renewed and intensified effort to understand their captivity and locate Brielle, Kayla, and Mina. 1 year and 21 days after Brielle Hammond, Kayla Ortiz, and Mina Cho vanished into the White Mountains, an event occurred that defied all fading hopes and rekindled the community's prayers. On a crisp autumn evening, a figure emerged from the dense woods bordering a quiet residential street in Lincoln, New Hampshire. It was Brielle Hammond, disoriented and visibly frail, but undeniably alive. Her sudden reappearance, walking out of the wilderness as if summoned from a ghost story, sent shockwaves through the local community and ignited a frenzy of activity among law enforcement. The profound relief that washed over her family was immeasurable, yet it was tempered by the agonizing question of what had transpired and where Kayla and Mina remained. Brielle's initial hours were spent under medical care, a fragile testament to her ordeal. As she slowly regained strength, her fragmented account began to paint a terrifying picture that surpassed the worst fears of investigators. She confirmed the grim truth. They had not been lost, nor were they victims of an accident. They had been abducted. Her captor, she revealed, was a man who had first appeared to them near the decommissioned pullout, posing as a benevolent volunteer guide. He had offered assistance, preying on their vulnerability and confusion after their rideshare error, luring them deeper into his sinister plan under the guise of helping them find their way. Brielle described a sophisticated and chilling system of captivity. Their abductor had employed a network of burner phones, constantly changing numbers to communicate and to evade any potential tracing. He had not kept them in a single location, but instead shuttled them between various seasonal cabins scattered across different towns in New Hampshire. This constant movement, coupled with their isolation and disorientation, was a deliberate tactic to prevent them from establishing a sense of place or seeking escape. The cabins, often rented under false pretenses or through intermediaries, provided temporary, anonymous prisons, ensuring the girls remained hidden from the relentless search efforts. Brielle's harrowing disclosure provided the first concrete answers to a year of agonizing silence, but it also unleashed a torrent of urgent new questions. Where were Kayla and Mina? Was their captor still holding them? And who was this man who had so meticulously orchestrated their disappearance and captivity for an entire year? The search for the remaining girls and their abductor now became a desperate race against time, armed with the first true insights into their horrific ordeal. Brielle Hammond's harrowing testimony provided the essential narrative, finally unveiling the chilling truth behind the girls' year-long disappearance. Her words meticulously detailed the captor's elaborate scheme, confirming that the initial rideshare error had been swiftly exploited by a predator who posed as a benevolent guide. He had lured them deeper into the wilderness, not to help, but to begin their terrifying ordeal. The meticulous use of burner phones and the constant shuttling between isolated seasonal cabins, often rented under assumed identities in various towns, revealed a calculated strategy designed to keep them disoriented, hidden, and beyond the reach of law enforcement. The White Mountains, once perceived as a place of innocent adventure, had become the stage for a sophisticated abduction. The immediate mystery of what had transpired was at last understood. Brielle, Kayla, and Mina had not been lost to the elements, nor were they victims of an accidental fall. They had been systematically taken, their freedom stolen by a cunning abductor. Brielle's account offered critical intelligence, transforming the cold case into an active, focused manhunt. Every detail she could recall, a specific scent, a fragment of conversation, the layout of a cabin, a fleeting glimpse of a town sign, became a vital clue in the relentless pursuit of Kayla and Mina and the identification and capture of their captor. For Brielle, the physical emergence from captivity marked only the beginning of an arduous journey toward recovery. The psychological scars of her ordeal ran deep, requiring immense strength and support to navigate the path back to a semblance of normalcy. The community, shaken by the revelation, rallied around her and the families, their collective grief now tinged with a fierce determination for justice. Ruth Spindler, the tireless advocate, shifted her focus from keeping hope alive to supporting Brielle's healing and ensuring the continued search for the other girls remained a national priority. Even peripheral figures like motel clerk Weiss Kimball found their earlier observations reevaluated, as investigators revisited every detail with the horrifying new context Brielle provided. The chilling legacy of the abduction served as a stark, permanent reminder of hidden dangers lurking beneath the surface of everyday life, forever altering the perception of the serene, yet unforgiving, New Hampshire wilderness.